Hello and welcome to episode 2 of our Timberborn Update 7 Iron Teeth Project 1K, 1000, whatever you want to call it, challenge here. Cycle 2, day 6, 4.5 days left in our second drought. Last time we got off to a pretty good start. Got some industry, well, not currently working because it's relying on water power, but we did get enough planks built to make a forester, and we have started replanting some trees and making some inroads on science production for other things as well. Plus some food things. Our well-being is at a healthy 0 right now because, you get that -3 for the beavers being homeless, and we currently have an injured beaver because of all of our industrial prowess happening over here. But there's a bunch of stuff we can and will fix today, based on your comments and based on some other thoughts I've had. But one of the first things I wanted to do, got a comment from somebody asking if we could please get rid of these stumps here because it's very distracting. So what I will go ahead and do is just pop in a whole bunch of these paths here. Yeah, we wanted to clean up the paths anyway. And then we'll just very cleanly remove a whole bunch of these stumps so we have a nice, clean-looking landscape. I do try to listen to your suggestions and your comments as much as possible. And in this stage of the game, this is still an easy enough thing to take care of without having to worry too much about some other stuff. But seeing how that is working, we're just going to go ahead and take these extra bits out. Nice and simple. Not have to worry about too much else for that in today's video. But, just try to do what we can, generally speaking. Usually a pretty good policy to abide by. So, that has massively improved the appearance of this area here. And down here, don't worry, that's going to go away soon too, because one of the other things you guys suggested was we should move the industrial space down here. And honestly, I should have built it there to begin with. I was just so concerned about having this immediate area accessible that I just, didn't even think about it. But, based on the comments that suggested that, and then me pondering this, we'll go ahead and put 3 times speed here. In my own time, the bad water comes back a whole lot quicker than the good water does, and if we want to actually have the maximum amount of power generated, period, then we're going to want to put these bad boys down here where the flow is combined. So I don't have enough logs to just build it outright, but since this area isn't generating power anyway, we might as well go ahead and say sayonara to these buildings. They can pick up all those pieces, put them back where they go, and then what I'm going to do is come right down here and pop in, I guess probably right about here would be the correct place to do that. Just put that guy in there. And then, it's obviously not going to be generating power anytime soon, but we can still build very, very conveniently with these fermenters because of their orientation with the doorway in the middle. And just pop in this guy right like so. Very, very easily. Connect that up with some paths. And there you go. And just so I can be nice here, we'll go ahead and get these stumps out of the way. Can't promise I'm going to always do this every single episode, but, I was asked nicely, so we're going to try our best to make that happen for you. Alright, so they're going to take care of that. Obviously, there's still plenty of stuff on the ground, and it will take some time for them to get into it, but that's fine. That's the way it goes, and that is what we are going to be doing here. Plant a couple more trees in the areas that we can actually irrigate. And this is also going to be some pretty important waterfront real estate for us as we move forward with some other things as well. So while they're working on that, we do obviously still have plenty of other stuff we can do. We can have the rest of these trees cut down, and then we can, once this is actually irrigated properly, we can start planting some other stuff. I've got some ideas to improve early game if we can manage to invest the time and resources necessary. But right now, while we're waiting for them to rebuild the rest of this stuff and also for the rest of this drought to go away, there's not really that much else pressing to do right now. So what I wanted to do is kind of talk a little bit more about how we're going to be handling the layers that we talked about last episode. A lot of good comments and some really, really helpful diagrams from some of you, so thank you very much for those. It turns out I was slightly wrong in how I presented the kind of nested column mushroom looking things. I don't know what the correct term would be for those, but it turns out I'm going to need to shift them slightly. So when we actually go to build those, then I'll show you at that point in time. But another thing that was proposed was that we could use the tunnels, which obviously we, can't do anything with at this exact moment in time. But we could use the tunnels to help blast out, get rid of the terrain. I'm not personally a huge fan of that. I know there's plenty of people that do use that, and that's totally fine. But I think I would rather come by things honestly in the game as much as possible. Which is also why you're probably not going to see me using the thing where you can just put small warehouses down as rudimentary bridges and just have them be flooded. Yes, you can do that. If you want to play like that, absolutely, go right ahead. I'm never going to tell you can't do that, but I personally don't want to do it that way, because I feel like that kind of takes away some of the fun of playing the game the honest way that the devs intend. So, that being said, I do want to let you know, I do know that exists, and I do know that's possible. I probably am not going to play that way, but what we can do is we can use tunnels to kind of excavate out some areas that would be easier to do that than just chop it all the way down, period, point blank. I've got some ideas for that. It'll become a little bit more relevant when we actually get to the part where that's going to be necessary, but just know that I am actively evaluating ideas and different things I can do in the testing world, which I never, ever, 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 ever have done. But this one's going to require a whole lot of thinking, and I'm going to need more time than I have in these videos, and I also don't want to, waste your time. We're playing beavers. We're not here to necessarily theorize that much. But we're coming up on 100 science, which means we have an opportunity to either unlock platforms, or I can just go ahead and unlock the stairs. I think stairs is going to be the best current use of that science. So let's go ahead, get those guys. And we have other stuff we'd really like to get to, so I'm going to pop a staircase in there. And that's going to allow us access to these trees and the scrap metal up here also, which, we don't have unlocked yet, but at some point in the future, that will become something we can do. And while this river is... Okay, well, it's about to not be dry. I was going to say, we can send a beaver down there and put another wheel in. But you're going to see in real time just how much faster this is going to be. Go ahead and get these turned on, set to cassavas, so we can start taking those in. So it is... I'm going to hit pause as soon as this starts rotating. Might take a little bit more time. There we go. All right, so it is... well, it doesn't tell me what time it is, but we're just going to call this halfway a clock between sunrise and the end of the workday on day 1. The water has come out this way, but it hasn't filled up enough, not even close, to get over this piece of the dam here. But the bad water is already turning this slowly, and it's going to increase in speed eventually, but it's already almost generating enough power for this to be viable. Remember, this only takes 50, so it's going slowly, but it is going. And again, it's just going to keep on increasing in speed. Very, very slowly. And soon this will join. So we should, yep, here we go. We should see a whole lot faster rotation here. Remember, up here, I think this was generating like 100-something, 120-something. So hopefully this increases here. I'm going to look like an absolute idiot, but that's fine. There we go. There we go. I knew it was going to catch up eventually. So this is already way faster than it was before. That is looking pretty good. But I'm going to take this out of triple speed because remember, this is hard mode. And we're not going to have that many days of temperate cycle here. We planted some trees. They're growing. Of course, the oaks are going to take forever. But these birches, now that they take 7 days instead of 9, are much more compelling like we talked about last time. So I have happily planted some of those, and we will continue to use them until such a time as that becomes disadvantageous to what we're trying to do. Of course, we can get up here as well. But since we have, only so many days to take care of the rest of this stuff, I figured it was probably smart. We don't have any gears in. It's going to be a pretty decent amount of time before we can even build the medium tanks anyway. So I'm going to start building some storage for stuff up here. I know this is far away, but this is non-arable land, which means it's perfect for storage, especially things we're not necessarily going to need all the time. So, building 5 of those, again, it's going to use comparatively a pretty high amount of resources, but we want to have a whole bunch of water stored. I think, I haven't done the actual math yet, but I am pretty sure if we want to survive with 1,000 beavers through a 30-day drought, we're going to have just incalculable quantities of water. Remember, every beaver uses 2 water, 2 food per day. Pretty sure that's about what it works out to. So, that's 2,000 water per day. Per day. That is like 1 2/3 of a large tank per day. 3 1/3 of the medium tanks per day. That's a lot. We're going to have to get a head start. We're going to have to not waste a single drop after a certain point. But the good news is, this is making 483 HP. We have more or less gone through all of our cassavas here that we've already harvested, but they're coming in faster now, and that is very good news. We can continue expanding what we're doing here, and I'm going to start unplanting some of these kohlrabis here. I guess we just do without those. But until we can actually grow and process canola, it's going to be the cassava and the kohlrabi show, and then corn, like we said before, is probably going to be the star of the mid and late game for us here, because, you know, every 5 days, one plot gets you 1 piece of corn, and then you can turn that 1 piece of corn into 5 rations. So that's a very, very good space to usefulness ratio compared to some of this other stuff, and I think that's going to be really, really good for us. All that being said, we need to get our population up a little bit. I really don't want to rush it, but probably pretty soon we could stand to put another breeding pod in. But before we do anything else, we're going to need to get some more trees cut down, which, you know, there are some up here. So go ahead and get this popped in. Mark all of these for cutting. We do not need to worry about saving any of them, at least not right now, and let them do what they've got to do. Right here, this is currently not a very good usage of resources, but there are some trees that are coming up, so I guess that's fine. We need to build housing, is what I was going to talk about until I remembered there were trees here and we didn't have enough logs. And the iron teeth housing I really like because it's stackable very easily, and we have a bunch of variety here. Obviously, the regular barracks is what we have to start out with. These guys take up 9 slots of space on the ground, and they store beaver storage. There we go again. Every single playthrough I end up saying beaver storage. But you can have 16 beavers in here over 9 squares, which isn't bad. But the large row house takes 2 squares and houses 8 beavers. So in the same footprint with additional height, you can fit 16 beavers in the same footprint of 2/3 of a barracks, which, you know, the full 6 squares holds 10. 2/3 of that, I guess you could say, would be 6 and most of a 7th beaver. We don't talk about that, but this is just better if you're trying to preserve actual ground space and you have a lot of height to work with. So I imagine we're going to be using a lot of these things much later on when we actually have the science to unlock this. But for right now, our only options are to build just regular barracks. So I'm trying to think far enough ahead where I don't box myself in, but I guess it's probably not going to matter long term, honestly. So I'll just put a couple barracks over here, relatively close by for what we're trying to work on, but not too far away. I mean, it's a 50 by 50 map. I guess at this point we probably should not even be having any discussions whatsoever about something's too far away. Well, look at this. It's called Diorama. It's not supposed to be some huge thing. But we're going to need to, we're going to need to go ahead and have some more food storage built, probably sooner rather than later. So I've got this area over here I could probably do something else with if we really wanted to be particular about it. Okay, that maybe wasn't my best choice for putting stuff somewhere, but if I put a medium warehouse here and put in the fermented cassavas, I mean, all this stuff's going to end up moving around anyway. I don't think it's really going to matter. But you know how it goes. Really, really, really need to start making as much food as we can while we can. Because remember, 5 to 8 days, I think friend Jason posted that in the comments for us, the duration of the temperate cycles. So definitely a possibility that in the morning in the game the beavers wake up to that drought warning, but you know how it goes. You just have to be prepared for whatever it's going to throw at you. But we're now really starting to feel the hurt of not having enough beavers because we have all these different jobs we have to do. So definitely going to need to get some more trees going here. So while I don't have the science to build any, what are these things called? Platforms. There we go. Over here. We're going to want to pretty quick because there's trees over here and I don't have trees. Oh, we have these they haven't cut down. Okay, well that's going to get us probably most of what we need. They're already working on building it, so I guess we go back to triple speed on this thing. Let them do what they got to do. And then I will just have to force some of these other beavers to go work somewhere else. All right, here we go. Day 3, we got that drought warning. I'm glad we have some food here. Because the droughts are only going to get worse. I don't remember exactly how long the handicap is on regular hard mode. I had the figures somewhere when we did Apocalypse mode, but honestly, I've completely forgotten those at this point. Just going to plant some more cassavas. This space here will still be irrigated, probably for the duration of this drought as well, provided it's not super incredibly long. But we're probably going to need to start pausing the water pumps, which, you know, is another reason why we've been building additional storage. Because I don't want to suck all this water out so that it evaporates yet. Because right now, irrigation's really important because we don't have water dumps, fluid dumps, whatever the game calls them now. Food processing is very, very important, so we need to make sure we're taking advantage of that. Alright. This is now a super priority. Well, not really a super priority, but we got to have a beaver up here cutting these trees down. These oaks are really going to help us out building everything else here. And I'm going to go ahead and say that these tanks don't need to be built as a super priority here. Housing probably, you know, should be one of the next things that gets built, but we also need to have storage for the fermented cassavas that we're currently making. But the beavers keep eating those pretty quickly, so I guess that's fine. That's the way that it goes. I did say I was going to plant some more trees here, but I figured I was going to have more irrigation available, and that's not the case. Very, very good to see 160 to 180 HP utilized in here. That's very good. And these birch trees coming in clutch here. Very glad we planted those. Let's kind of clean up our paths a little bit here. And I'm going to plant some more of these pine trees here. I think we're going to be okay. All right, cutting down. Yes, they're cutting down these trees. We will take care of these stumps at some point, but as long as we can build all our stuff, that's pretty much all I'm demanding here. Get that taken care of. Hopefully we can get somebody else into science. And once the well-being increases enough, then, you know, the 2 breeding pods are going to continue putting out an agreeable quantity of beavers. Don't want to get too crazy too quick. Remember, these don't work faster with better well-being, but the beavers that are already there live longer, so it makes it seem like they're working a lot faster, but that's really not how that goes. The other main benefit to the breeding pod thing that we aren't going to be able to get to for a while, of course, is the advanced breeding pods, which completely skip the childhood stage and spit out adult beavers that can work. But that is so far away, it's almost not even worth talking about at this point. But now we have an option for most of the beavers to not be homeless. This one will be next, ostensibly. And that's going to give us a big boost to the well-being. Remember, these are all at -3 right off the bat because they don't have any shelter. But if this goes away, then our well-being goes up to 5 average, theoretically. Maybe a little bit higher once some of this other stuff gets put in place. But that makes a big difference. You know, you click on, if I can click on one of these beavers, they don't get a bonus for working speed at all until well-being 5. But remember what I said, this guy, once there's, you know, shelter in place, well-being of 6, which is going to get that plus 20%. Already has the +5 movement speed from well-being 2, and that won't change until well-being 12, so that's not a thing for a while. And then well-being 7 is going to give the plus 20% boost to the life expectancy. So it almost makes more sense early game, depending on how you want to look at it, to try and boost the well-being rather than to try and brute force more beavers by having more of these breeding pods. And there is a limited amount of stuff you can do to affect that change, but it's not impossible. You just have to kind of allocate your resources differently. What we do have the ability to do, rooftop terrace, because of the way that I built this, we can pop one of these things in right on top of here, and that's going to be a nice bonus. There's that well-being of 5. We have a 6-day drought. Let's go ahead and pause these 2 deep water pumps and these buildings here. That's going to give us 2 extra beavers, which we could use as builders, or we could employ to do other stuff like gathering berries, which we don't have adequate storage for, or, more compellingly, doing some science. Inventor huts are cheap. They're only 12 logs. And we have a bunch of spots that we could put those in, like right here and right here. And I know we don't have a lot of wood at this moment in time, but it's a drought. And you know what that means? It means we have the ability to build stairs in this thing here. So that is going to be very exciting if we're able to get across that way. I would love to have the platforms in place, but it's 100 science and we don't have access to that yet. So in theory, I could build stairs down and stairs up over here. Is that a little wasteful on materials? Okay, well, actually not really, because that's only... It's going to be 8 planks and 2 logs versus building platforms, which one of these platforms now is 6 planks. So, okay, technically, yes, it's more stuff, but I got plenty of planks. Well, plenty being 17 at this point in time, but you see what I'm putting down. I'm going to pop 2 staircases in here. They should be able to do that pretty quickly, and then we have some birch trees we can cut down, and then we can very easily come up here and cut down these guys as well. Get a very, very good early grasp on tree planting and all that sort of fun stuff. And I think, honestly, this area over here, instead of being a whole bunch of berries, probably would be a much better tree farm. But we're not quite there yet. We still have a bunch of stuff we have to figure out. And of course, it gets better when we have more beavers, and it gets better when the beavers aren't homeless. Which, you know, another 12 logs, and that problem will be taken care of very easily. And yeah, it looks like we're going to be, within a little bit of time, we're only going to have 11 logs here. But as long as we build these stairs, which I think I am going to go ahead and prioritize, we will have access to some more. And that should not be a bad thing at all. Let's just go ahead and get that situated there, just so everybody's ready to go. And then this, of course, is going to get a lumberjack flag. This single flag should be able to take care of all of the trees that we can actually cut down. That's going to be good there. Put this back on triple speed. Make sure they don't accidentally build stuff that we don't want them to build yet. So I believe, yeah, okay, that's already done. And then this is just going to be waiting, hopefully, on a log. Nice and simple. And these extra beavers, of course, certainly can help with that. Oh, wow, we still have some of our starting berries in cycle 3. How about that? Well, that's kind of a good sign, considering that I don't have I don't have such a mighty need for food yet that those have disappeared. Average well-being of 6, looking good. 8 more logs to get these barracks taken care of, and as long as these stairs are in, then we are in fantastic shape. Alright, so we got somebody in there, looking good, looking good. Again, they probably came out of the inventor, which is fine, because I'd rather have beavers do what they're supposed to be doing. But we can go ahead and take out, I'm going to say 2 of the builders again, so we can get that thing spinning, and then, you know, not take up too much other stuff here. But now that this is... Okay, we have a couple trees that are going to be growing in a little bit, but I think we can leave this alone for now, get that guy paused, and once this inventor is finished, which will be very soon, then that's a job that is going to be worth doing. And then, of course, this one we can deprioritize as well. That's going to be good utilization there. Food situation is, you know, not looking stellar because we didn't have a sufficient quantity of the, what are these things called? Fermented cassava. Man, I'm going to have to do a whole lot better here. But we are continuing to grow the raw cassavas. We have storage, well, not technically have storage, but we can put 50 of them in the farmhouse. And that's going to allow us, hopefully, to have a decent stockpile in time to use this fermenter. We can also build another fermenter. That's always allowed. We can get the rest of these birch trees cut down. We've got the oak trees to cut down as well. Should be a pretty simple, straightforward process. Just gonna try to remember to get these stumps out of here. Again, I can't promise that this is always going to be a thing that we end up doing, but you know the drill. If you ask nicely and I'm able to actually do something, then I'm always going to try to do it. Unless it's just something that's not going to work at all for what we're trying to do. But now we've got some logs here. We're working on rooftop terrace. Actually, no, the next thing is going to be these tanks, which I guess is fine. Since we only have 3 days left, I do think I can turn at least one of these pumps back on. Remember, we're going to try to get ahead of consumption as much as we can. Early game being as limited as it is. I've got 5 planks left. So I can use those 5 planks to either build a staircase down here to build more of these water wheels in the next 3 days, if I have the materials for them. Okay, 25 logs. Am I going to have 25 more logs anytime soon? I guess that's probably worth doing, but these are... Alright, let's pause to think here. Don't need to rush. That would consume almost all of the planks I have left, but we can make more planks. It's not a big deal. How close are we to getting these oak trees? Okay, about halfway, 49%. Yeah, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it because we're going to be glad later on that we will have had these water wheels in place. I am also, you know, very aware that the droughts are only going to get longer and we're only going to get so many days of use out of this. But remember, before too long, obviously not super quick, but we can build bad water discharges. Again, it's going to be many episodes before we get to this, but it is not going to be a forever we can't do this thing. It's a lot of resources, it's a lot of science, but once this guy's in place, infinite, quote-unquote, infinite power, well, as much as 3 CMS worth of flow can generate from that guy there. Just keep that in mind. Something to think about. I'm going to go ahead and have them build at least 1 more wheel here. We don't currently need the power, but we will definitely be glad that we have it if they can get this taken care of. Yeah, so looks like this is going to be next, and then that. All the beavers are no longer homeless, and we are up to a total of 14. So that is an improvement. I guess we could have this thing speeding along at 3 times speed. That's probably okay. Probably about time for us to have storage for raw cassavas, though, which I'm going to go ahead and say can go there. That's a much better use of space than storing the kohlrabis that are going to get eaten anyway. Why is your storage so far away from the processing? Well, that's just where that building was. But the processed food needs to be close to where the beavers sleep. But also, it's Diorama. It's a 50 by 50 map. It's not going to be that big of a deal. We're going to be alright. So if we can get this one finished and I have enough logs, I'm probably going to want to go ahead and build the 3rd. But that's going to depend on how many more we have here. Oh, see, now we have all sorts of stuff we can be cutting down. Let's turn this lumberjack flag back on, speed that process up a bit. 1.5 days, I think we can do it. I'm going to go ahead and put this in, see if they can get that accomplished. They're still cutting that out. That's fine. These trees will grow up within the next... Okay, well, not that one. Once the water comes back... oh, yeah, this one's going to pop up pretty quick. We can turn that back on. That's going to be fine. 5 more logs for this. 15 for that. Of course, that is deprioritized. But if this is done, that's going to take care of our power during the temperate seasons. Going to take care of our power for a decent amount of time. Maybe another couple cycles. So, good to get ahead when you can. Oh, hey, we got science. All right. Well, I guess I don't really need to have the platform right now, then, do I? Because we have this here. Okay, I almost spent the science on things that didn't matter. Caught myself, though. All right, so what do we want to do now that we have all this science again here? Plenty of stuff we could be unlocking. Some stuff that isn't going to be incredibly useful right now, but might be in the future. Gears, we're probably going to want to get to gears pretty quick, but I know the production of our planks right now is not going to be quick enough to support this. But it is only 100 science. We've got, of course, metal. If we really want to get a jump start on that, then I could just go ahead and unlock the scavenger flag, but I really don't think there's going to be a whole lot of merit to that at this exact moment in time. Power-wise, gravity batteries, of course we can't make those yet, but that would be a very good thing to start taking advantage of early, especially with how short the temperate seasons are. Yeah, other science stuff. Probably not going to get to bots this playthrough. A bunch of reasons why. I've replied to people's comments who've been asking about that, but that is my intention, is to not use bots. One, because 1,000 beavers is... that's an insane amount of beavers. We're not going to be hurting for labor. I don't think we're going to need to worry about that. And if we don't have bots, then, you know, we don't have to worry about the supply chain that they require, and especially the power when they have to get charged. That's a considerable amount of stuff we're going to have to deal with. So this is done. Let's remove the stairs so we don't have anybody get contaminated yet, because boy, is it going to be a long time before we can make What's this thing called? The decontamination pod. Yeah. So we will get 75% of our materials back, which is 1 log and 3 planks. Totally fine to do that. And this is going to need to be unpaused immediately so that that can get working. And I think that is going to be about as good as we can do right now. We do still have berries, somehow. We have 33 of our initial stock remaining, which is nice. Very good surprise there. Cassava's growing, again, very slowly, but worthwhile process. We've got rooftop terrace ready to go. And the reason I built that one first is because it's 15 logs, and this one's 15 logs, but this is, you know, higher capacity. It's got 10 versus 8. 5. That is a 5. That is not 8. But we will build a campfire. I'll just go ahead and... yeah, I'll just go ahead and put this here. Alright, so this should start turning pretty quickly here. There we go. There we go. So now we get to look at the bottom number instead of just the top number right here. Alright, fermented cassava time. Let's go. Get that taken care of. Don't have to, you know, speed through this again, like I was saying. Now we're not going to get too much more of a gain on the lifespan versus birth rate thing here, because, you know, we're only at 7 well-being. We have to get all the way up to 17 to get the plus 40%. So that, at this point in the game, is probably not tenable. There's so much stuff we'd have to unlock to get there, which, you know, we absolutely can. We have 225 science. We have options to do, for example, the shower would probably be a pretty good thing to get now. And then the medical bed. I know we did have injured beavers earlier, but not right now. So honestly, those probably should be our primary goals. And, you know, it's only 50 science. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Plus, there's a couple of you that, for some reason, really like showers. I don't, you know, it is what it is. But if we go ahead and get ahead... Oh, I could have put something there. I guess that's a choice I could have made differently. But I'm going to go ahead and just put a medical bed here. We're going to have to repopulate the industrial lumber mill, which means we can, you know, take some of these guys out here. But pause that lumberjack flag should be a pretty simple thing. And we're not out of logs right now. It's probably fine. Probably looking okay. These trees can be cut down. This one's still working. We'll take care of all that stuff when the time comes. Now we're gonna have to try and get these food numbers up considerably, which is going to mean planting more stuff. I guess. You know, we probably don't need to have all of this connected right here. So that is what I'm going to do, is just take this out. And we're going to need to plant a lot more cassava. By a lot more, I mean, I guess, 30% more. I don't want to focus on having too many kohlrabis. They're good emergency food, but they're really not very space efficient once you have processing you can do. But we're not going to have processing forever. In fact, you know, it probably is going to make more sense for us to go ahead and build a second fermenter. Oh, I can just go ahead and put that there. That's actually tailor-made for that exact spot. That's perfect. And I got 20 logs. What else am I building that requires logs? Okay, well, the shower and the medical bed are now paused, so I can build this. It's time sensitive. It's important. So go ahead and take that care of that. That should be fine. We're up to 15 beavers. We're making it. We're making it. Slowly. But that's fine. Should I plant more kohlrabi? I don't know. I don't know if I should or not. But I guess cassava is never a bad thing to have, and this will stay irrigated for quite some time. At least this is working. Once we have haulers in place, we can take care of that. Speaking of... Okay, 20 logs, 10 planks. I know it seems kind of insane to build that this early, but it might be to our benefit. There we go, well-being of 9. Might be to our benefit to have at least one of these sooner rather than later. I guess we'll see what happens. Keep in mind this 2 vacancies is taking into account our inventors and stuff here, so we're not actually running out of beavers to do jobs quite yet. We'll get there, though. 64%. I definitely want to have more oak trees, but irrigation's going to have to be a thing. Which, honestly, the levee might have to be the next thing we unlock. I know the water dump, fluid dump is another 250. That's going to be really handy. But probably going to have to wait a little bit of time. I'm more interested in getting these cassavas fermented. We still have plenty that are ready to go, and then we're going to be plucking more out of the ground. These guys are still looking good. We still have berries, and we still have water, but go ahead and get that other beaver in there. We don't have any... Well, we do have one beaver we can leave in there. Start building the shower. I've got planks. Go ahead and use those. We're going to need to have plank storage, actually. More than the 20 that we already have. So, in the interest of conserving materials, I guess I can go ahead and just build a large industrial pile. I don't want to build it here necessarily, but it can be somewhere over here. Just go ahead and put that there. On non-arable land, we can put some other stuff here. That's set for planks, and then that can go be something else. But it's day 3, so, you know, we haven't gotten that warning yet. Day 4, maybe? No? Alright, cool. So that's going to give us a chance to fill up our water reserves a little bit more quickly. Up to 16 beavers. Making progress. Total power supply of 460. Yeah, looking good. Looking good. 470, looking even better. And now our storage of fermented cassavas is rising, as predicted. How are we looking up here? I got 2 trees to cut. I don't have extra beavers quite yet. So keeping an eye on that. Yeah, I think it's probably about time to go ahead and commit to building a hauling post, which can go right here at the top of the stairs. But I'm going to set that to, I guess, 2 workers. Probably going to be an important thing. We just have those guys in there. That will allow us to... I know it's probably not going to get finished until the end of the temperate cycle anyway, but very, very good early game thing to take care of. The reason I'm not planting trees here is because this will not be irrigated when the time comes. Depending on flow here, remember this is 3 from this plus 6 from this. That's a total of 9 flow, theoretically, coming out. We could, if we want to play dangerously, we could put dams over here to try and keep this level up, but I honestly don't think that's going to be worth our while. I think that's going to cause more problems than it's going to solve at this point in time. We have opportunities to get things better. But probably going to make more sense to start pursuing some irrigation before we do too much else. And again, you can do that with levees, but it's not going to be as good as blasting holes in the ground and filling it with water. Obviously, dynamite is going to take a very long time to get to compared to where we are now because, one, you have to research the explosives factory, you have to have bad water, which requires a bad water pump, and you have to have metal, and you have to have gears, and we don't have any of that stuff yet. But we're making very good strides, making our progress. Things are looking pretty good. This pile, as of right now, doesn't really need to be changed from planks to anything else. There's that drought warning. But we want to keep an eye on stuff. So far, still making good progress. I am a little concerned about the food, but we do still only have 16 beavers, and we will be able to harvest cassavas. Just want to make sure we're building up a stock of the fermented ones, and I guess they're not really pulling these out of the ground fast enough to keep up with the capacity of these fermenters, which is good. But at the same time, we still need to have more of those guys. Let's, I guess I should build storage for berries just to be safe. Not really any compelling reason not to, right? So, I'll just go ahead and pop one of these guys here. Why is it so far away? I just did that. It's fine. We will probably end up having to reconfigure a bunch of this. This is just where I built it. It's fine. We get 75% of the materials back anyway. It's not like that really matters. Okay, so these trees are basically gone. I've got a couple here. I guess, yeah, they can still reach those. So we'll leave this guy alone for now. But we definitely need to be getting some more resources taken care of here. The droughts are only getting longer. We could very well have a double-digit drought this next cycle. Very, very easily, and that could start causing some problems we're not going to be prepared for. So let's prioritize this and the farm by haulers, both of these. And then, well, right now the single beaver will be able to take care of that. Probably should think about building another water pump sometime soon. Well-being of 10 is very good for this early in the game, at least. Yeah, see, now we've got these guys. Now we've got them. If they can just harvest these cassavas, gonna turn that into priority for harvesting. Get that taken care of, because I want to get these guys through here as fast as possible. I do not want to have to build the Wheel of Suffering, which, you know, we can. This used to cost 100 logs, by the way. They decreased it to 50, I believe, for the main Update 7 release. It could have been a couple patches before that, but it's no longer a death sentence having to construct this because, you know, you don't have to allocate 100 logs to it. But at the end of the day, it is still a wheel on which beavers will trudge along and turn a crank, which will generate power, which is cool, but that's 4 beavers, and right now we only have 15. So, you know, work smarter, not harder, etc. I'm having them harvest all the cassavas as fast as they can right now, and that's going to get where it's going to get. Let's pause the lumber mill, because now I have 71 planks. I should not have allowed that to happen. But it's fine. You know, we're still going to use them. We can get those beavers back to do labor at other places. And check and see what we're doing here. But berries are looking good. We have more capacity, so we can keep harvesting those. We can harvest some up here as well, which they're going to... Well, they're not going to die yet, but it could very well happen soon. So if we go ahead and get a gather flag in here, then we can harvest what's here. Remember, this is going to be dried up. So that is something we're going to have to contend with. Otherwise, we're looking okay on our tree growing stuff. But I'm not going to be willing to plant trees over here until we do something else with the bad water, because this land is almost completely unusable. Just a little bit here. If anything, we should start pushing the farm further this way. But for right now, this is fine. These oak trees are going to be growing up pretty soon. I guess I technically do have a little bit of space here, but I'm just not looking fantastic for that. What we can do is we can slowly start shifting this over. Start planting some more trees here, which I guess if these are... I might as well just start planting more oaks as we keep shifting things over. Nope, wrong button. Yeah, see, these guys here definitely have some room to be growing some more cassavas, although it's not going to be entirely cassavas because, you know, kohlrabies do not have to be processed, so if we don't have power, there's still a good backup. I just, you know, don't want to dedicate all of my time and all of my resources into getting those. So what we still have access to range-wise here, I am going to just put a few of those in. It's probably fine. All right, let's find out how long this drought's going to be and how much trouble we're going to find ourselves in. I'm going to have to think about some stuff here if it's too much longer than I think it's going to be. All right, what's it going to be? 8 days. All right. A Beatles week, as the kids say. And by the kids, I mean people who were alive in the 60s. But anyway, we're all young at heart anyway. 8 days is going to be completely fine. I don't think we need to be worrying about prioritizing the harvesting of cassavas during a drought that's going to make it impossible for us to use power. So we can get those beavers out of there, which is going to allow us to do some other stuff. I'm not going to keep pumping all of this, so let's pause those two. This is about half a height worth of water, I'm pretty sure. Okay, a little bit more. We'll call it 60%. It will not evaporate in 9 days or 8 days, but get too much longer than that, and that's going to be very, very dangerous territory. So where does that leave us now? 44 minutes and 29 seconds into this OBS recording. I suppose we can make it through the rest of this drought and then come back in tomorrow's video at the start of Cycle 5. But I don't want to just power through it, because remember, early game is a pretty important time when you're playing on hard mode, because you want to stockpile as many resources as you can. So, to that end, I'm going to change these over to kohlrabies, because we're not going to be able to, you know, do anything related to cassavas for the next 8 days. So that'll get us 2 full growth cycles of these guys, assuming they plant the kohlrabies. And then well, once this guy gets harvested, I can move these paths over and start planting some more trees. I have a couple more squares here that, at least for right now, I think I can get trees planted on all of these, because there's a tiny bit of green. If there's a little bit of green, you can grow a tree or a crop. It just has to be able to be done there. So we're going to see just how many of those they end up planting. We'll have to check in on that every so often. But see, these bushes will die in 8.5 days. Now, this bit of land here is not going to not be wet in 8.5 days, because that's going to be wet almost immediately. Next drought cycle, though, these bushes are probably going to go away. So what we want to do is want to make sure that this beaver working in the gatherer flag can gather all these berries so that they have the biggest possible chance to grow one more set of berries before they die. Remember, the berry bushes, every 12 days, will give you 3 berries. Obviously, they're not going to grow during a drought, but there is a chance. There's a chance that we could have another crop of these before they die out, if we are careful about how we apply our irrigation here. We have the option to come up here. I mean, it wouldn't be a very easy thing to do super early in the game, but we do have the option to come up here and just put dams in that will restrict the amount of water leaving this, which, you know, generally speaking, good idea. But remember, cycle 5 is one more cycle that we have not had a bad tide, and I think it's one of the first ones we actually can. So if you build a dam here when you have a bad tide happen, then that bad water is going to stay here, and it's going to kill those trees really quick, really fast, versus, you know, having this just be open, where not as much water is going to be stored up here. It's still going to kill the trees, maybe slightly slower. First bad tide usually is only a day anyway, so there's a chance some of them could survive. But just food for thought as we continue working on all of our different stuff here. We got all those planted, so I guess I can just take that out. So we're going to be okay for food. Again, we have 120-something berries. We do have a small stock of fermented cassavas we can continue munching on. Well, I guess the beavers can. And then the kohlrabis, of course, will probably end up being the MVP of this drought. But we want to make sure we can move past them as quickly as we can. So, how do we do that? I said corn is going to be the answer last episode, and at least once this episode, but there's still a lot of work to get there. We have to be able to build a food factory, and we have to be able to power it sustainably. That's going to require, until we can have the big aqueducts or whatever built, that's going to require engines, which, you know, or the suffering wheel. That is an option, but we have to have a little bit larger of a population for that to be viable. The engine is going to require metal, and it's going to require gears. Again, we can't really do anything production-wise until we have more power, which, again, just build the suffering wheel. Well, we might, but I've got 16 beavers. We need them to do other stuff first. But sometime soon, we're going to want to get into making gears. Not only for that, but for the medium tanks and all that fun stuff. So, taking a look at our resources, we got a lot of planks. So anything that requires planks is probably going to be fine to build. This is 100 science to unlock. We might as well just go ahead and do it now. And I'm going to pop this guy right here. Why not here? Well, if I build him here, then I'm going to have room for another fermenter here very easily to access that. And that's going to be totally fine. We'll just leave space for it and pop that right there. Now I have this space here that is not going to be powered, and I'm not going to plant anything here. So this is going to be a really good spot to put some small piles. We'll do one for logs. We'll do one for planks. Then I'm going to do a small warehouse. That is not the right key. There we go. Small warehouse for some gears. Just so we can have some simple storage right here. Nice and easy. And then it probably would not be a bad idea, since we have haulers, to put in a warehouse for some cassavas. That should probably be set to obtain. Not that that's really going to matter, but just make things a tiny, tiny bit easier. And that'll give them something to chew on. We obviously do still have to have some more logs, but these are growing in quickly. And we can now gain another 3 spaces here. Go ahead, like I said, I'm just planting more oak trees. Looks like they got that taken care of. So, you know, we yapped a little bit. We can put the speed back on here and start making some nice progress. While we're waiting, of course, there's also still plenty of stuff to be discussed. Oh, we have a beaver's not working. All right, let's take that. We can get those other trees out of there. And how long until we have one of these ready? 72. Okay, this... Is this a stump or a... Oh, that's an actual tree we can cut. I did not have that marked. Alright, so they can do that, and then I think I'm going to shut that one down so we can have them go do something else. But, yeah. Easy, easy, easy work. Put another builder in here. Obviously, we can't use this right now. But having it done and ready to go is going to be very good for us. And is also going to use some of the planks that I probably should not have made that soon. It's probably not time to think about building another barracks yet, but that time will be approaching. I also don't think it's wise to add a third breeding pod quite yet. I want to make sure we have a little bit more of a stable food supply. Keep in mind we're basically surviving off of berries at this point. But we have 200 of them, so you know we're going to be fine. But we need to be producing a lot more food before we start having too many more beavers. We're on a good track, though. So pause that gear workshop. They can start building the rest of these storages here. I've got an additional thing I can plant oak trees in. These should be growing up pretty soon as well. And these, I'm glad these are planted and these are going to work. That's good. We've got our medical bed. We've got our shower that is currently still usable. We do have that. We're looking, honestly, we're looking pretty good. Decorations-wise, all these have to be unlocked. I technically have science, I guess, but not gonna worry about that too terribly much. I kind of don't want to build any more of these small tanks because I want to try and see if we can make enough gears. So I have 120 science. I probably should go ahead and unlock this and get all those planks in place before we start turning stuff into gears. So if we go ahead and unlock that, let's pick a spot here. That would be a good place for one of these to go. You know, honestly, probably right here would make sense. When I put my third barracks in, that's what's going to work there. So we'll do that. Obviously, they can't finish it, but they can dump all those planks in there, and that's going to get us one step closer without having to wait. So we can just dump all of the planks that we have left into making gears in the gear workshop, which, of course, 3 hours per gear. This thing is going to require 20 gears, so it's 60 working hours. Which at 16 hours a day, you know they don't spend all 16 hours actually working. So that's probably the entirety of the temperate cycle spent making gears just for the medium tank. But if we can get that, we're going to be in really good shape because that's going to make it possible for us to get this space reclaimed where we can either plant some crops or we can, you know, put something else there that's a little bit more useful until we're able to do actual irrigation. And again, I'm not planting any trees over here because this is all going to be poisoned. This is still fine right here. I guess I could probably pause that guy and that guy at this point. I don't think there's any more trees that are going to grow up here except this one guy that's going to take another, you know, several days. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these haulers going. I guess I probably should have another inventor or 2 or 4. But I want to make sure before I use those logs, because we're not going to get any more logs for a while, that would be a good use of resources here. So there's not really too much else we can get ourselves into. And science is always nice to have. But we are looking at least another couple of days. Okay, well, in this case, look, another day and a half until we get a huge burst of them. So, you know what? It doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and build some more inventors. They don't have to be close. In fact, it's probably better if they're not. This space up here is going to be, you know, filled with dead bushes before too long, but we don't need to, you know, sign their death warrant quite yet. Go ahead and pop in, I guess. Nope, wrong button. The other mouse button. Good job. Let's put 2 more of those in there, and then I think I can put something else here if we really want. But it's always a good idea to have excess capacity for science generation, even if you're not going to use it. You just deprioritize it, so that way your idle beavers are always doing something. Maybe I don't need to have 5 in the hauling post if we're not really moving that much stuff around, but yeah, see, I need more farming space that's actually viable. I guess across here is probably still fine. This farmhouse can't reach it though, so I'd have to build another one. Or I'd have to move this farmhouse to another location. Like, say if I unplanted here and I emptied these 2 tanks, this would be a decent location for a farmhouse. Let's try that. Uh-oh, episode's starting to get long here. We'll go ahead and take care of that. That's 58%. That's fine. We don't have to worry about it. But if I build a farmhouse here and I have it organized, yeah, okay, we could actually plant some more crops across the river. That would work out pretty nicely. They can still reach everything we want to over here. I should have built this over here in the first place, but you know how it goes. Best laid plans, etc. Oh, wow. Berry storage is completely full. That's actually really cool. I did not think that was going to happen that quick. That's good security long-term for food and also these breeding pods. It seems like capped out at 16. So maybe it is time to build another breeding pod. Let's go ahead and do that then. See, I don't want to pin myself in too much. I'll put it here. We'll start out with one more. I know I see that water ticking down. We're going to turn one of these back on. That's fine. So this is also working out A-okay, but I'm going to take this down for right now back to 2 because there's not that much that needs to be hauled. Yeah, get those numbers back up. 2.6 days. I think there was an update that changed. Okay, drought resistance. There we go. So 2 days kohlrabies, 3 days for cassava. I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, soybeans 0.3. The little babies can't stand anything. When this gets down to 2 days, I'm going to turn this other pump back on. I don't think they can pump it with all of this out in 2 days. But yeah, we absolutely needed to get some more breeding pod stuff going on. I know we have 17 now, but that's... No, this is getting kind of close to this one. I'm going to keep this paused for just a little bit of time. Let this guy get a little bit ahead. That'll be fine. This will still take maybe a third of a day to get water back here if this completely dries out. So I'm going to wait a little bit longer and turn this other one back on here. Maybe get to like 1.5. Okay, how are we looking here? Yeah, I'll leave it paused for a little bit more. This will be harvestable pretty quick here. Then we can just build that farmhouse, move that, and then, of course, we can plant some more stuff here. Probably cassavas. All right, 1.5. I'm turning it back on. That's fine there. These trees are ready for cutting. I did mark them, right? Good. Okay, that was going to be embarrassing if I hadn't done that. Still looking okay here. Yeah, it's time to turn this one on. All right. Making progress, folks. Making progress. 1.2 days. This probably is going to be completely dry, but that is okay. Gonna be fine. Now let's prep for when this actually starts having flow. I got 16 that's logs. Those are planks. 16 planks. I need to have, to finish this, 20 gears. So we will still have to make a few more planks, but I'm going to prioritize. Yeah, see, here we go. It's already dried out. We got 0.8 days. It's going to look really, really ugly, but it is totally fine. We're going to survive just fine. Just fine. Now, come grab this kohlrabi out of here so I can put the farmhouse in a different spot. The shower, unfortunately, is not going to work with no water, so apologies to Kurt there. But now I feel comfortable going ahead and staffing the gear workshop toward the end of the day, staffing the industrial lumber mill, and then I guess just make sure... Yeah, that's already got him out of there. That's totally fine. All right. Grab this kohlrabi, please, and thank you, because I need to end this episode pretty soon, and I want to make sure I have that farmhouse in place. Overall, though, I think we've done a lot of good stuff this episode. Making some progress. I know the storage capacity is reduced because I got rid of those 2 tanks, but when this one gets built, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be perfect. All right. This should be, I think, the next... There we go. There we go. All right, farmhouse in. I just make sure this is the exact correct place I want to put it, and it looks like it is, unless I rotate here. All right, so let's... That's the same. All right. So that gets built there. This should start rotating very, very soon. And have both of those pumpers working. Absolutely, you'd want to do that. Get those farmhouses built. And there we go, folks. Things are progressing in a tremendous way, and I am very excited here. Let's get this done. Get that done. Get that not with trees. I guess I could plant trees there, but cassavas are a much more compelling thing. The placement of the farmhouse over here is going to mean that these kohlrabis are going to be prioritized now, but all we have to do is say cassava, and that's going to be totally fine. So they are going to work on the cassavas first, of course, because that is our priority during the temperate season. But we are looking really good. Looking really good. Things are trending up tremendously. We've made some very good strides today, and I think we are primed and ready for tomorrow to try to really dive into some industrial improvements. Limited in scope, but paving the way toward really, really getting stuff going here. I'm really excited about this series. The reception for the first episode was terrific, so I really appreciate you guys watching, leaving insightful comments, asking questions, telling me I'm insane. I agree. This is probably going to be something that I cannot hope to successfully complete. But that's life. You push yourself and you figure out what your limits are, and then you try to go past them. Which sounds really silly and stupid for something as simple and, in the grand scheme of things, in the spans of time, completely inconsequential. But we're here to have a good time. And, that's why I do these videos the way I do them. Try to make it as friendly and laid back, stress-free. Sometimes it's not stress-free when bad things happen in the game, but, the world needs more of this kind of stuff, and I want to be part of the reason why people can have a little bit of happiness in their lives. So I really appreciate you guys contributing to that environment. We've always had a really positive and supportive community, and I greatly appreciate it. Including these people on the screen right now, the Beard Boosters, who make it possible for me to continue putting as much time as I do into making videos just about every single day, and also supporting me and people I care about. And that's very... just incredible that I get to do this. So I'm always going to be thankful for those folks, and I'm thankful for you too, even if you're not on that list. Just glad we get to share a little bit of time together and enjoy some, hopefully, positive and enjoyable beaver gameplay with each other. That being said, it's the end of this episode. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you. We'll see you back again tomorrow for more of this, and we'll be back with the water beavers on Monday. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.